Hello everybody, this is my first time shooting a video like this, and I'm going to be reviewing Dr. Dre's The Chronic 2001 today. So, I'll be reviewing both records Dre released after his departure from NWA. I do have Straight Outta Compton here, and if you guys are interested, I will rate that later. But, for this review, we'll simply be talking about The Chronic by Dr. Dre and his follow-up album, 2001. So the original Chronic, I believe it was released in 1992. This video is unscripted, by the way. I'll edit any errors on the screen for you. And upon the release of The Chronic in 1992, Dr. Dre was working with Death Row Records, I do believe, and Suge Knight. This record features Snoop Dogg on several tracks. You could practically consider this a collab, honestly. And it is considered one of hip-hop's foundational records, at least for early gangster rap and G-funk music. Dre himself has released countless classics and played in multiple records throughout the years, but his two biggest records and only two studio albums were The Chronic and 2001. He actually does have a studio album called Compton with Kendrick on it. I think that might be a soundtrack, though. So I'm going to say these are his only two studio albums for his solo career. Now, The Chronic is a great record, and I personally love this record, even if Snoop carries on some of the tracks. Dre hasn't really been known for his lyricism, mainly his production and his impact on the culture, but both of these records are still timeless classics in their own right. And when The Chronic was released, like I said, Dre was still with Death Row, but he had a falling out with Suge Knight and left the label, which resulted in him making his own record label again, called The Aftermath, and signing under Interscope, where he would release 2001 in 1999, not 2001. Originally, the record was titled 2000 and was going to be released in 2000, but Death Row Records and Suge Knight would release a 2000 mixtape taking shots at Dr. Dre in 1999. So on November 11th or 16th, Dre would release The Chronic 2001 in 1999 instead of 2000 or 2001. And the reason he retitled it is because he didn't want his record to be titled 2000 when Death Row already had a 2000s mixtape. So that resulted in that fallout. And after these two records, Dre was supposed to be releasing a record called Detox, which was like highly praised by a lot of people. Before it even came out, it was supposed to be this classic magnum opus by Dr. Dre, like nothing would ever be better than it. And we never got it. We did get 3 singles, and they were alright, but they were nothing crazy. I'm pretty sure the singles that were confirmed to have been on it was Kush, Crack a Bottle, and then there was one more. And I'm pretty sure it had Eminem on it, but I just can't remember. I'll edit it on screen, like I said. So anyways, we'll get into rating these tracks. Now, I will be honest. Eminem is on a lot of records on the 2001 tape, which makes me like that record a bit more. I also think it has more classics. Yeah, I'll say that, yeah. And it's got Snoop Dogg on that record too, and some good lyrics by Dre. The only thing I was a bit upset about that I learned later was that Jay-Z actually wrote, I do believe, for both Dre and Snoop Dogg on Still Dre, which is like Dre's biggest song and the biggest song on the 2001 record. Well, without further ado, let's get on to rating these records and every individual song, starting with Dre's The Chronic. We'll only be rating songs and not skits on these projects. For the first track on The Chronic, we have the Chronic intro, which is actually a full intro song, instead of simply being an instrumental or a skit. And I gave it a 7 because personally, it's alright, but it's not like the greatest thing ever. It's a solid entry on the album, and usually a solid entry on the album will get a 6 or a 7 from me. With that, we have track 2, F with Dre Day. Obviously, this is a 10 out of 10 track, a foundational classic track for gangster rap and G-funk, and it's one of the best songs on this record, in my opinion. Track 3, Let Me Ride, I gave it a 9 because it's pretty good, but I just don't feel like it meets the cut for the 10, you know what I'm saying? Same thing for track 4, The Day Took Over. Track 5, Nothing But a G Thing, obviously another 10, certified classic. Track 6, D's Nuts, I gave it an 8 because it's alright. I like the production, the intro's pretty funny, but aside from that, it's not like an amazing track, so I don't feel like it meets the cut for a 10 or a 9, honestly. Track 7, Little Ghetto Boy, gave it a 9. It's one step over D's Nuts. Track 8, With a Gun, just an 8. Track 9, Rat-a-tat-tat, another 8. Track 10 is actually a skit, so I didn't rate it. It's the $20 sack pyramid. After that, we have Lyrical Gangbang, a 7, because just like the intro, it's an alright track. It's pretty good, but it's not like an 8 or a 9, or definitely not a 10 in my book. It's a solid track, but it's not something I really saved on my playlist to go back and listen to again and again. Track 12, we have the high-powered interlude, another 7. The Doctor's Office skit, I didn't rate that one, but I'll tell you what, I'm not really fond of that skit personally. Track 14, Stranded on Death Row, another 7. Track 15, The Roach Outro, which is a full outro, not just an instrumental or skit, I gave it a 7 too. So at the end, you've got like 4 7s in a row. And then you've got track 16, Bitches Ain't Shit But Hoes and Tricks. Gave that an 8. Obviously, it's an 8. I could have gave it a 9, but I wasn't really feeling it. I wouldn't give it a 10, but an 8 or a 9 is acceptable with me for sure. Wouldn't go any lower than an 8. So, the average score, if you add up all those tracks and divide it by the total number of tracks minus the skits, so that would be, total number of tracks would be 14 since there are 2 skits on his 16-track album, you get an average of 8.1. Now, I don't agree with this score personally. This is just the average. I would say this is a 10 out of 10 record because, like I've said a million times over, this was a foundational record for hip-hop and everything to come from the future. It resulted in Dre having one of the biggest and most influential careers ever and gave him the way to even have a record label or sign artists or be as big as he is and do as much as he's done for the game. Without this record, we just wouldn't have Dre as a solo artist or as the creative mind we have him today. Even though he did work with NWA and he released Straight Outta Compton, The Chronic was definitely a step he needed to be his own artist and to be what he needed to be. Moving on to Dre's 2001. This is whenever he came across Eminem. He had helped Eminem with his album, the Slim Shady LP, and by this point, he had done plenty of work on his own and with multiple other artists. He left his previous label, Death Row Records, and parted ways with Suge Knight, and then he joined Interscope with his new label, The Aftermath. This record is timeless classic, just like The Chronic. A lot of people put this below The Chronic, but personally, I like it more, and you'll see that when we get to the average score. Track 1, we have Low Low Intro, which I didn't rate because it's a skit. The Watcher on track 2 comes after. I gave it a 9 because it's a solid track, but it just doesn't meet the cut for being a 10 out of 10 with me. It's a classic. I'll listen to it again a few times, have it in my playlist, but it's just not a 10. Track 3, FU, I gave it an 8. I don't remember if I have this one in my playlist or not. It's a solid track, but it's not one I revisit a whole lot, so I gave it lower than The Watcher. But it's better than a 7. Track 4, Still Dre, 10 out of 10. Obviously, it is the biggest record on the album. Although it was written by Jay-Z, both Dre's and Snoop's verses, it is still a timeless classic, and you can't really dog on it. I mean, come on. A lot of Dre's lyrics are ghost-written, and honestly, that doesn't take away from what he's done in music. Because as a producer, an executive producer, and a creative asset, he's above a lot of people. He's on par with, or higher than, prime Kanye West. Even now, I'd say. Because when Kanye dropped Jesus is King, a lot of people dogged on that record. I thought it was alright. If you ever listen to Jesus is King 2, lyrics are about the same, but the production goes a lot harder, and it still has that gospel Christian vibe. Dre did such a great job at capturing it. He made that record, and it should have just been the part one. Anyways, getting back to Dre's 2001, we have track 5 with Big Egos. I gave it a 9. It's not a 10 like Still Dre, but it's a solid listen, and I'd say it's on par with The Watcher, so it gets a 9. Explosive, I debated on giving this a 10, but I gave it a 9 because personally, I don't like it that much. I mean, I like the beat, lyrics are nice, but it's not like a crazy record in my personal opinion. However, Kanye did sample it, and it was one of the first beats he ever really got famous for, aside from Heart of the City. So it's a great record in all due rights, and I think it's got 132 million streams on YouTube, and probably more on Spotify. So I could totally agree with this being a 10, but I'm going to give Explosive a 9. Track 7, What's the Difference? Another 10. I'd say it's on par with Still Dre in its own way. It's a solid track, but at the end of the day, what it doesn't have that I feel Still Dre has is replayability. It's less catchy than Still Dre. Still Dre's more catchy, I'd say. Even the production, the piano on Still Dre just gets you hooked. What's the Difference, though, is one of those awe moments on the record. It's one of those hype records because you've got everyone on the same track, and it's just like a cool get-together moment. So it's got a lot of streams. It's got pretty good lyrics, solid verses. I'd say it's a 10 out of 10. Track 8, Bar 1, another skit, so I didn't rate it. Track 9, Light Speed. It's a solid listen, but nothing crazy. I give it a 7. Track 10, Forgot About Dre, another 10. And this is a really great record, but I am biased because it's featuring Eminem. I don't think anyone's going to really disagree with me, though, in terms of this album. I don't like it as much as Still Dre, but it's probably my second favorite or third favorite song on the record, and I'm sure that stands for a lot of other people, too. So yeah, Forgot About Dre, 10 out of 10. Track 11, the next episode with Dre and Snoop Dogg, 10 out of 10. And that will be the last 10 out of 10 for the songs on the record. Track 12, Let's Get High, 7, because just like Light Speed, it's a solid listen, but nothing crazy. Track 13, Bitch, 7 out of 7. Track 14, The Car Bomb, it's a skit, didn't rate it. Track 15, Murder Inc., 8 out of 10, because I'd say it's better than the previous tracks that all got 7 out of 10s. So, yeah, Murder Inc. gets an 8. The Education skit, it's a skit, didn't rate it. Track 17, Some LA, 7 out of 10. Track 18, Pause for P, it's a skit, so I didn't rate that either. Track 19 and 20 both got a 7 out of 10, being Housewife and Act Right, because they're a solid listen, but nothing crazy. And then Bang Bang for track 21, I gave it an 8. And The Message for track 22, solid track. I'd say it's on par with The Watcher, so it got a 9 out of 10 as well. And then we have the outro skit, which I obviously didn't rate. So, at the end of the day, this track list averages out to a score of 8.4, which I don't agree with, personally. I would say this record is a 10 out of 10, just like Dre's The Chronic. So 2001 and The Chronic both get a 10 out of 10, both timeless classic records, both foundational records for hip-hop, and both records that put a lot of artists on to where they are now. I will drop in a note for Dre's Detox. The 3 tracks that were supposedly on the album that we did receive, I Need a Doctor, Kush, and Crack a Bottle, all received pretty high scores from me. Kush and Crack a Bottle, I'd both give a 9, and I Need a Doctor, I'd give a 10. But at the end of the day, I don't feel like that record would have amounted to the sheer magnitude that Dre's The Chronic in 2001 did. However, I would love to see Detox be released. Well, that's going to do it for today. If y'all like this video, I can do a review for NWA Straight Outta Compton or another record by Dre. I plan on doing Kanye's albums next, probably starting with his college trilogy, consisting of The College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation. and then I'll probably do Eminem or MF Doom or something unless you guys pick a different artist. Well, that'll do it. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell, cause what the hell. Leave a like and drop a hype. If I don't see you next time, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.